through getting a call or meeting or however it went down last night when you were informed that you would be the starting quarterback for the next game for the Atlanta Falcons?
Yeah, I was actually shopping. I was shopping with my girlfriend. We was at Costco, and I got the call, and they told me that I was going to be the starting quarterback, for the rest of the season, and as you can imagine, it was some nerves, it was excitement, but I'm just super blessed to be in this position, super blessed to be on this team for the opportunity, and it was always like I always say, my family, they always say, just trusting God, trusting the process, and go about each and every day, with that trust and belief that whenever it's your time, it's your time, and they called last night and they said it was my time, so.
Okay, it's your time now. You told me about taking the mental reps and getting ready that way. And I guess you get a week of work this week. How are you trying to, get the work in now to be ready by 1 p.m. on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, just the mental reps, that was always there. Always make sure I'm prepared, preparing like the starter and always being ready because I didn't know when my number was going to be called. It could have been called at any point, so just me making sure I was ready, that was the biggest thing. And, as far as you talking about like the physical part, as far as getting the reps with the guys, that'll come this week. And we got this week to prepare. And, I already talked to some of the receivers and they said they're ready to, get those reps. If we got to do it after practice to get more, they're willing to, and that's the biggest thing. Just make sure I find time to get with those guys. So.
Mike, Kirk said he called you last night. What was that conversation like?
Yeah, he just told me that he's in my corner. The same way that I was for him whenever he was the starter. He said that he was going to come into the building. Continue to stay positive and do whatever he can to help me out and help this team win football games. So.
Y'all get anything special at Costco after you heard the news? Double chocolate chip cookie?
Oh man, so I did. I had I was actually getting a hot dog, and whenever I got the call, I wasn't hungry no more. So yeah, so.
That's more of a steak dinner news more than a Costco hot dog news, right?
Yeah, you said what?
It's more of a steak dinner.
Oh man.
Costco hot dog news.
Yeah, man, but. I was at Costco. I needed groceries.
And Michael, how challenging has it been to you, just as a competitor, to bide your time and wait for this opportunity? Knowing Kirk's a veteran and what the situation was when you got drafted, but wanting to get out there and play. What was that like for you to process and deal with?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was challenging. It was something that I had to adapt to. Obviously being a starter in college for 5 years, maybe 6. I was in for a little minute, but like 5 years. Just each and every day. Just make sure I'm preparing like the starter. Like I said, I wouldn't say it was challenging at all. But for me it was just just learning that new position. Just learning how to take those mental reps so that you can always be ready and always coming in the building each and every day. As a leader, all quarterbacks, our position, it requires us to be leaders. And, for me, it was like just always just come in, lead, just make your presence felt. And, at the end of the day, whenever it's your time, it's your time. I wasn't really, focused on, I want to play right now, this and that. It was what can I do to help this team win football games? And for this whole season, it's been scout team, and I've been doing my best to make sure the defense was ready, and prepared each and every week. If we had a running quarterback, I'll try to scramble more. If we had more pocket pass, I was in the pocket. But just playing my role and doing that the best I can. Because it's about this team winning football games.
There's been a lot of fans have been eager to see you play in a real game. And to get this moment, what did you say to the anticipation that the fans may have for you?
Can you say that again? You said just to the fans?
There are a lot of fans that I've heard just anecdotally waiting to see you get this opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Now that it's coming, what do you say to the fans in terms of maybe what to expect and how to go through it for?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. I feel like we got the best fans in the league. So for them, I feel like we should always put on a show for them. And Kirk done a great job all season. Especially all our home games. You see him crowd surfing. Getting the crowd into it. and obviously it's going to be in a different way, for me. Me and him obviously aren't the same person, but, I got to find that way to, connect with the fans. And, obviously for us, it's about winning football games at the end of the day. That's what everybody want to see. So we got to find a way to do that, and we're ready to. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of rookies started late in the season, Pat Mahomes, go back to Todd Marinovich, but they weren't in the playoff race. You coming in where there's still, stuff to be playing for. How does that, how do you deal with that part of it? Is that, hey, they're trying to win games, get in the playoffs here?
Yeah, man. My previous coach, we used to always preach 1-0 mindset, and I'm really focused on this week right now, and that's all I can focus on right now is what we got in front of us, and that's the Giants, and trying to make sure I'm prepared to be able to do whatever it takes to help us win this football game, and we'll take it one step at a time. I'm not looking too far ahead, like, oh, this is a playoff game, but as long as we execute and do what we have to do, we'll come out with a win, and the playoffs that's something that come with it. But I'm just trying to stay in the moment right now. So
yeah, how tough was it as you saw Bo Nix playing, Jada playing great many guys that were in your draft class getting on the field? Well, JJ got hurt, but mostly everybody's been out there already.
I mean, it's not tough. I was excited for him. I'm happy for him. We're in different positions. Obviously we brought in Kirk, who was a vet, and I looked at it as an opportunity to learn, an opportunity to grow in each and every day, and just soak in the process, and so that whenever my time does come, I'll be ready. So I wouldn't look at it as challenging. I was super excited for those guys. I know a lot of those guys through either playing with them or seeing Jaden at the combine and training with him. So I'm just super excited for them. And obviously we're not in the same position, so I didn't look at it in a bad way.
Just internalize your situation.
You say it again?
So you just tried to internalize your situation.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's situation is different. Like I said, Kirk, he's great. He's a vet. He's done a lot of great things in this league, and so I knew the position I was in, and I looked at it as an opportunity to learn.
You're known for your even kill disposition, steady heartbeat, but this is a big moment for you. You thought about what it's going to be like, that opening kickoff, your first step as a starter?
Man, I was basically thinking about just leading up to it. I was like, if we running out of the tunnel, that'll be my first time running out of the tunnel, and I ain't gonna lie, I'm gonna be nervous running out of that tunnel. But whenever I get on the field, it's a whole different mentality. Like, it's a flip switch. I'm ready to go, so I'm gonna be ready.
Were you kind of surprised at this point in the season that they were making the quarterback change, especially since the way it started? You guys were in first, and then how things ended now.
I don't know if I'll say surprise, but I mean, for me, I was just so in the moment, just trying to make sure I was ready for when that time did come. It was like, okay, whenever it does come, I'm gonna be ready for it. It's not like, oh, I was gonna be surprised by it or anything, not saying like it's something that I expected, but at the end of the day, I just wanted to be ready, and that was the biggest thing for me, like, just be ready. You never know. So.
Like, you keep talking about the opportunities that you've had to learn. What have you learned so far?
Yeah, from Kirk, man, a lot. Like, Kirk, just the way he processed, the way he speaks to the team, in meetings, on the field, just the command he has, to the offense, getting things the way that he wanted so that, he could play fast. And, it's just the things he said in the huddle, I was in the huddle today and walked through and, like, just remember some of the stuff he did and just saying it the way he said it, because, like, man, I look up to Kirk, and, like, Kirk, like, to be honest, Kirk couldn't do no wrong in my eyes. So it was like, dang, like when I saw him in camp, leading all the way up through the season, it's like he's special. Like, he's doing it at this age, and he did a great job, and I'm talking about getting through his progressions, making a pass to the fifth read. Our fifth read, like, you don't see that a lot, scoring touchdowns and doing stuff like that. It's like, dang, how is he processing the game so quickly to get to that fifth read, to make that play? You're just trying to learn stuff like that, and just seeing how he cancel out certain routes and stuff like that based on coverages. I feel like I learned a lot of that, and I'm ready to showcase it. So.
I know you haven't had a lot of time to have conversations outside of this building to this point since this is all happening so quickly, but what was your family's reaction and what's the reception been like?
Yeah, my dad, he was excited. He kind of like got me off the phone. He was like, I gotta tell your uncles. I gotta tell your uncles. And I was like, dang, you ain't gonna like. He was like, congrats. All right. I'm gonna talk to you later. I'm gonna call your uncle. Okay, like, I appreciate it, But I mean, they're all excited, Me and my girl, we're actually hosting Christmas this year, so a lot of family is already coming up. They'll be at the game, so that'll be good.
How excited are you? It seems like a simple question, but you seem very even-keeled 99% of the time.
Yeah, I'm excited. I got a lot of feelings. I don't know what they are, but I'm just ready to play. I'm excited. I'm blessed. Like I said, I'm blessed to be in this position. Blessed to have the opportunity, and I'm just gonna make sure I take full advantage of it. So.
I asked Zach about how you're handling just fitting out the play calls and so forth, and he was saying that he could tell from the time, the off-season stuff ended to the time you came back to.
It's different.
For the time you, and off-season ended to the time you went to training camp, you made a big jump, and he said clearly you've been working hard on it. Can you kind of go into what you were doing and what was working to help you learn how to, to learn the offense and to repeat the calls?
It takes reps. Everything takes reps. When I first got here, I didn't have those reps, but as I got the reps, the studying the playbook, as far as like what routes we combine with others, for the backside part of the route and, protection and stuff like that, but it just took reps, Like he said, I made that jump because I was taking those reps, whenever we were off, just making sure I'm getting ready for that moment. And that's all it was, just reps each and every day. So.
Was it sort of thing like kind of studying for a test, or was someone helping you, or how did it work for you?
So I would say plays in my phone and listen to it and then say it again, just stuff like that. It's kind of a test, I guess. You can say it was a test, definitely. But sometimes I just try to memorize a play, like without even hearing the play or like reading the play. Just this was one of our plays this week, and just doing it like that, and so I can get a better understanding of it.
How does your leadership role change now, going from QB2 to now starting QB?
I mean, at the end of the day, like I feel like I was always a leader, just always trying to find ways to, help impact the team and, help the team be ready for game week, but, in meetings and stuff like that, coach will look at me to say how I feel about a certain route and stuff like that, and previous it was Kirk, he asked Kirk, how do you like this route ran? And Kirk can speak up in meetings, and now I'll take on that role, so I guess it's like small stuff like that that's different. But I just got to be myself. I don't feel like I got to be anybody else. I don't have to, try too hard to be the big leader, the vocal leader. Like, just be myself and, just trust in my preparation and, bring everybody along with me. So.
As you approach this milestone, is there a piece of advice that's stuck with you?
Be you. That's that really just came to my head because it's just be you. It doesn't matter what circumstance. It doesn't matter what what your position is at that time. Just be yourself, and the guys they'll gravitate to you, and as long as you're genuine, the guys they'll they can relate to that. But if you try to be somebody else, people can see that, and and nobody likes when you trying to be somebody else. So I just try to be myself every day. So.
Obviously, you've been right there in it. You talk about preparing like you're the starter, you've been on scout teams, so you're really well versed in what they're asking you to do offensively, but how comfortable are you in the verbiage and everything that will be asked of you on Sunday?
Yeah, I'm very comfortable. I gotta be, but I am though. Like I said, just all the reps, the mental reps that I was taking all throughout the weeks. I'm just making sure, like on the sideline, when I'm hearing the play call in my helmet, I'm saying it out to myself. Looking at the defense, calling what calls I feel like I would make if I was out there on the field. It's different because Kirk had 300+ pound D lineman running at him, and I didn't. So it was like I probably saw something different in Kirk. So when he comes to the sideline, I'm like, hey, Kirk, what'd you see there? Or stuff like that. Or we get on the iPads and, just go over stuff like that. But, man, I'm confident. I'm ready to go. And this week is going to help me become more ready. So I still got a lot to learn.
What's the ticket request like crazy?
It's crazy. It's crazy. I don't know. I'll probably have like, it's not just asking me, cause I'm not paying for 35 tickets, but it's about 35, maybe more. I don't know. Yeah, a lot.
What time did you get here this morning?
What time did I get here this morning? I got here around like 11. We didn't have to be here till 1. So, yeah, they let us sleep in, so I slept in.
Anything else?
Appreciate it.